So I just want to tell you guys that I'm going to do a little bit different mic technique today. Just an experiment. I want to see what you guys think. I want to see if you like it. So these are condensers right here. I'm going to have these panned hard right. And then I'm going to run this ribbon here pretty much left. And yeah, so let me know in the comments if you guys like this sound better than normal. It's been a few days, hasn't it? As you can see, I am totally dressed like I just woke out of bed, woke up, got out of bed, and I'm going to show you something today. A question that, and I hope it's not too simplistic, but a question I've seen several times now in the comments, not only in my videos, but some other videos, is I've seen some people asking how to make a dark guitar brighter. And I hope it's not like, I know some of you people are going to like say, this is a really dumb question, but I think there's also another group of people that this might actually help because you may not actually know this. So, regardless, I'm going to do it anyways. So this, of course, is my Les Paul. It is a fairly dark guitar. I'm playing through a PV Classic 50 right now. I just picked this up from a music around here in Indianapolis. I picked that up and a Classic 30 for a pretty good price. Gave me a good deal on it. Some good people there. Here we go. And we're out of tune because I forgot to tune. So let's tune. And we're back, and I am in tune. I just got this guitar worked on by Bill Stoltz here in Martinsville, and he fixed my G string, I'm pretty sure. I did wrap it around the bridge, and we'll see how it works over the next month or two. So, good stuff. So like I said, I was playing through a PV Classic 50, which is primarily a darker amp, especially with the stock speakers in it, as compared to like a Twin or something, which is out of the frame. I don't think you can see it, but the Fender Twin right here, which is a fairly bright amp. It can be. But anyways, like through a PV Classic 50, I'm playing a dark guitar already. You know, and I'm on the bridge. Still pretty dark. There's several ways I'm going to take you through like the beginning stages to like a little bit harder stuff. Okay. So for the first thing we're going to do is, of course, you probably know this. If if this is too dumb, I apologize, but you got a presence control and a treble control on your amp, right? So they do two different things. So the presence is usually going to be higher frequencies, kind of like a sparkle, like kind of adds in sparkle. With a treble control, while it is treble frequencies, pretty much, it also has some mids too, so it's like lower treble. So let me turn up the presence real quick and we'll see what happens. Okay, I have rolled the presence up. A little better. Let's try rolling up the treble. It is brighter, but it's not like the sparkle that I'm looking for. So let's think what else we can do. Okay, so the next thing we can do is we can use a buffer. And I'm just going to use the dB Plus, which is one of our products, the little Decibel Plus. You got the little buffer on the side, turns the buffer on and off. That's true bypass. If you have that on, then the buffer's on all the time. You can also turn this knob down, turn that on. Now you got two buffers, or you can use that as a volume boost. But I'm just going to use it as a buffer, and here's why. You probably know this. I'm probably beating a dead horse by this point, but I'm going through, I think, about 24 feet of cable into a Sonic Research tuner, into the input of the amp. So I've got a lot of cabling here that's kind of filtering off that high end. So let me throw this buffer in here real quick and see what it does to it. Without the buffer, with the buffer, So that does help. I'm going to move the amp controls back to more of a neutral position because right now the treble's cranked, the presence is cranked, and that's not the optimum place for that amp, I don't believe. So let's move those back real quick. Okay, so once again, let's do that same test with the EQ fairly neutral. Without a buffer. With a buffer. Without. So it does make it a little bit brighter. Still not the step that I'm looking for, so let's try another option. Okay, that next option is going to be to use an EQ pedal. I'm going to use the Boss EQ, just, you know, because I can, because I got it. And I'm going to bump up that 6.4 just a little bit and see if that gives me a little bit of sparkle. Okay, so these Boss EQ pedals, actually most Boss pedals, I think almost all of them, do have a buffer when they're off. So I'm still going to have a buffered signal. Let's throw 6.4K on. Off. On. I can also bump up 3.2 a little bit. I don't want to bump that up too much though because it starts to add a little bit of mid-range and some honkiness to it. So yeah, so right there, I mean it's better with that 6.4K up. Still not perfect with the Les Paul. So what else can we do? So my next option would be to use something like the 30-something, which while this is going to kind of give a little bit more of a Voxy-ish AC30 type of sparkle a little bit, it's been a long time since I ran into a Classic 50, so we'll see what it sounds like, but it should add quite a bit of sparkle to it. Okay, so right now I have the bass at noon, treble at noon, top cut at noon. I'm on the 30 setting, gains backed way down, so I'm pretty much unity volume. Not using the boost at all, just basically using it as a glorified EQ pedal. So with it off, kick it on, well, push it on. Let me roll the top cut back a little bit, which should give it a little more sparkle. Turn the treble up just a smidge. It might be too much. Let's turn that treble back down. Back down to about noon. Okay, so honestly with that amp, I kind of like the sound of that as a clean tone. I could do that. Roll a little bass into it, roll a little top cut out, put a little more treble into it. Again with it off. So that is probably the simplest option. Now, from here we go a couple different ways. And not really anything I can show you, but I am going to explain it to you. So it is a Les Paul. It's probably a darker guitar than like a Strat. I know it is. It's darker than like a Strat or something. We could change pickups. You could find some pickups that are brighter. We could go through all different kinds of speakers, whether they're WGS or Celestion or Jensen or Eminence or whatever. You know, there's tons of different speaker types. Some are really bright, some are not so bright. And just contact your local speaker company like for a feel of that, because they're going to be able to say, you know, with your amp, like if you're Classic 50s, if you want more brightness, then you'll want speaker 1, 2, or 3. You know, they're really knowledgeable. Most all the speaker companies are really good with that. So you can contact them and ask them, get their opinion on that to see what they would recommend. So we got pickups, speakers. We could go to a different amp. We could go to a Fender Twin and it'll have a totally different bright sound. Or we can just try a different guitar as well. You might have to get rid of your guitar and try something different. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I have a Whitfield Strat. This one is, it's kind of, I'm not sure exactly what year Charles modeled it after. It's modeled after an older vintage Strat, so it is a little brighter. The pickups aren't super hot. They are a little brighter. Totally different sound because it's a totally different guitar with totally different pickups and etc, etc. So that might be your option. Let's run through the Fender Twin real quick just as a final example of how much a different amp's going to be. How different a different amp's going to be. Okay, back with the trusty Les Paul into the Fender Twin Reverb reissue. Stock speakers, 5s on the EQ, volume's way down because it's a loud amp. And on my bridge again, here we go. Oh, my bright switch is off too on the amp. You turn on the, actually before I turn on the bright, let me turn the treble up so you can see what the difference is. See how it got kind of nasally? It did get more trebly, but it kind of got nasally with it. So in comparison, the bright switch is off. Turn the bright switch on, and sounds like I got a tube problem. I had to change those tubes. But, so that you can see that's a big difference, gigantic difference from like a Twin to a Classic 50 or an AC 15 or, you know, any other amp pretty much. So I guess this really boils down to this, and this is probably a simple lesson for some of us, and for others, we may have not even thought about it before. But if you feel like your guitar is too dark, an EQ pedal isn't always going to change it. A buffer isn't always going to change it. Any pedal isn't always going to change it. Sometimes you have to do something a little bit more drastic. You know, you can change pickups maybe. Speaker change is going to do a gigantic difference in any amp. And then of course, you know, as you put a little more money into it, swapping guitars, getting a different guitar or getting a different amp just might be the end. You know, the final thing you got to do to get the sound that you got in your head that you want to achieve. So, hope this helps you. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave it below, and we'll catch you in a couple days. Thanks for watching.
That